Hey guys, it's JRP here, and today we're going to be doing a tutorial on Chillstep. Now, with my style of Chillstep, I like to focus on swells, crispy leads, and nice chords, along with a real smooth bass. So that's what we're going to do today, and this is what it sounds like. Right, the finished project will sound like this.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that you've heard that, let's replicate it. First you want to go insert yourself a Synth 1, and you're going to want 3 of those up, just because we're going to be using different sounds in here. So for Synth 1, let's build the chords. Okay. So first thing you want to do is put 2 voices on this oscillator A1 on the part A, then click across to part B, and make sure that this wave is on sine, so it looks like this. Saw, and then the voices are set to 2 as well on this side. Okay, back to part A, you go to the filter A area, and you put this up to AB, and then you go to the filter type, and you put that to low pass, where it looks like that. And you do the exact same thing by clicking on B and doing it on this side, so this case is BA, and then low pass as well, so go back to A. Okay, so now if you listen to that sound, it's pretty simple. Okay, now you go to the chorus option because we want to make this sound a little nicer, and just click that tick box. Now, chorus will be on, so if you listen to that now, sounds much different. So for the delay, you want to bring that down to, say, 7 milliseconds. You can see the value here. Push the rate up to about 0.7. The depth goes up to like 50%, and the dry and wet will mess around with. So I'm going to put it at 41, roughly 41%. Okay, now the next thing we will do is we'll go to this phase option over here, and we'll just mess around with it until we decide we like it. Okay, so I've got mine set at 106.29 degrees. It's quite specific. Even a small adjustment of the phaser can make the biggest difference on your sound. So first thing we want to do is just rename this to Chords and link it to a channel. So by right clicking rename, typing Chords, and now make sure that only this little green selection is highlighted for chords. Okay, click on your mixer button here. Okay, go to insert 10, which is where I always like to put my first input, and leaving a space for the drums and everything here. So click on here, so you've highlighted this channel, and hit Control L, and that will link it to that track. Alternatively, you can right click on the channel itself and go link selected channels to this track, and that will do the same thing. See, Control L. Okay, so let's get started. Firstly, we'll drop this volume to like 60%, just so it's not blasting our ears off when we're building the chords. So when I start with my chords, I always fill my basses the way I want it first, and roughly the structure that I'd want. So let's have a look. See, we sort of play around, you get a feel for it in regards to what you want to do. So Okay, so that's what I want to do with on this one. Next thing we'll do is make our chords happen. So let's just drag this up an octave. So it was sitting on C4. So grab all of that by going Control A and just drag that up to C5. Just because this isn't using a bass, is where you start and then you draw the chords on that. So first place for starters is a flat standard major. So you've got, for a major, it's quite simple. You have 3 in between these 2 top notes, and 1, 2, 3, 4 in between 4 to make a major chord. So let's do the same here and decide if it sounds good or not. So just do that with all of them, and then you change them around, because this will be starting in a major key. So we have to figure out which sounds don't sound good in the major key, and then go from there. So yeah. Cool, pretty happy with that. Now let's go to the next one and we'll make our bass. So rename this one here to bass and open up the style length here. First things first we want to do is actually make this a square, so make sure it's not one of those two, but it's just a perfect line in there like that, squiggle. And drop the octave by 1. Put it up to, on part A, stay on there and put it up to 2 voices. And then this filter type goes to low pass again. This goes AB, of course, as well. And also we do the same on the other side, except on this oscillator B2 we move that to full square, 2 voices on the low pass, and AB, sorry, BA, and just get that cutoff down to say 30 Hertz, and just play that sound for you. Now, quick tip, go to the release and bring it up to say 1.5, and do the same for part B as well, so it stops that awkward ending of the note. You know, there's no like tapping when you finish it, because it's not cutting sound immediately. Now go into the piano roll by right clicking piano roll, and if your computer doesn't stretch properly, if you just hit shift and then 2, it'll bring it to this particular zoom. It's quite a handy tip. If you want to zoom in more, press shift 3, and even further out, press shift 1. You can also do that inside the piano roll. Okay, since these are in the 3/4/3 structure, the way we had in here, majors and a couple minors in there, the middle note is our basses. Remember, as we had from before. So you just take them and you drag them down an octave. Okay. I'm just going to lower the speed down to say 130. We'll see what that sounds like. So, and then play that. Let's keep it at 140. Just going to have a little look here. Quick modification, okay, make sure that this is same as the one here. Just listening out, I felt like this sounds better. So yeah, B, G, D for that half bar there. And also you've got to go to the bass and bring it up to G to match that one as well. Okay, cool. Now let's go to the bass, just click that and make sure that there's only one highlighted here. Go to the mixer, link that in, and just make sure that this is at about 60% also. Okay, and now let's load up a lead. So go into Silent 3 again and rename that as lead. Okay, alright, now in part A, go to the voices, bring that up to 2, keep that on a saw, make this low pass again, AB on the filter, go to part B, go to this side and oscillator B2, bring that up to saw wave in that one, and go voices up to 2. I may be rushing some of this, but you'll catch on it if you've followed from the start there, and BA on here, okay, and then bring this cutoff all the way up to the top, cool, under filter control there. Next part, go to the chorus and obviously select the check mark there. Now bring the delay down a little bit, so we'll go like 6.5. Keep the depth at about 50% and the rate, yeah, keep it about there, the same. Everything should be as is, and we'll just play that. Okay, let's link that to its channel as well. So make sure that we go, this is the only one highlighted, go to the mixer and Control L to link that in and drag that down to 60% as well, just because it's really loud right now. Very good. Okay. Now with this chorus, we're going to want to push the depth up a little bit, so we're going to go maybe 55%. And just push the rate up to like 80 Hertz, 0.8 Hertz. And then the wet, maybe 52%. Now on part A, go to the phaser and bring that up to, let's see, okay, actually we're going to drop that phaser off and try the detune instead. No, let's keep that down. Let's go back to the chorus and we'll just bring this dry down to say 40% and the phaser back up. To 97 degrees, and then a detune. Detune to 3.67, and this is all on oscillator A1 that we've been doing here. Okay, now it's time to make our lead. So what we'll do is we'll just go in the piano roll and we'll have a listen and a play around and see what we want to put in here. going to stick with that for now. Alright, so now there's a real simple trick that I like to do. So you want to keep this as simple as possible, everything named as his. So we've got chords, bass, lead, okay? And from there you go into the little button here on pattern 1, and you go to the right hand side and you go down to split by channel and just hit that. Now what you can see has happened now is that they've been chopped into their respective fields. So you've got chords by itself, bass and lead by itself. So first things first, let's place the chord and a double, bass and a double, and a lead and a double in the piano roll, in the list here. So same, it's going to sound the same obviously, but the chords, everything's just split up in respective to that. So what we'll do is we'll do the kick now. So let's go to lead and then go find first next MD and hit that and just name that kick. Okay. Now if you want the same kick that I have inside this project, then you can hit the description below and download the pack with all the entire finished FLP of this melody segment, and you can use that if you like. But I prefer if you start from scratch, because that way where you actually learn everything. But you can most definitely take anything of the samples that I have in there and use them for whatever you like. Okay, let's take this. Okay, let's make sure we're in our kick 1 in here and just right click on that. Actually, what we'll do is paste one there and one there, so cool. Make sure that's the only one highlighted, go to the mixer and then put it on insert 1 and hit control link. So control L and that will link that into it. And now what you want to do is add onto this one. First things first, you want to put in a parametric EQ2. Then add in, so to find that you go in here and you just go parametric EQ2. So, and then this one we'll put in a fruity compressor. Okay. And then we'll also put in a thinking we should put a Maximus on this one or not. I think we'll leave that one out for now. So let's go to the EQ. First thing first, bring this one all the way to the side and then up to about 12 decibels. You can see the information up in the corner here. And number 2, bring it across to say 50 hertz. Oh, sorry, about 35 hertz and up to 5 decibels. Bring this one across to say 100 hertz and then up to about 2.5 decibels. And this one's actually at 6 decibels. So that just gives you a push of the lower ends. And then go to your kick here and just go back to the piano roll and just bring up this window here and go right to the bottom where there's pre-computed effects. Go to the out knob and just turn it to that first notch you can see on the side here. Just make it lap there. It just caps a little bit of the end of that sample in there, which is a little awkward with other sounds. So next part, going into the chords. Now what we're going to want with these is, normally I would go with sidechaining and things like that, but what we're actually going to do is we're going to work with volume modulation and what else would it be? Volume modulation and cutoffs to create a feeling of sidechain, because we don't have a repetitive sidechain, it's quite different. So let's get into that. First things first, go into your chords, bringing up this, swivel this cutoff around a little bit and leave it at the top just so that the plugin has registered that you're using this knob. Okay, then go to the top left hand corner of chords, little arrow down button, click that, then go down to browse parameters and click on that one. Okay, now what you'll see is the last one you have moved is the one that's going to come up. So if I use resonance, it's going to lose resonance, and then cutoff is there. So you go hover over this and you right click that, create automation clip. Okay. Now you do the same for bass. Don't move that around just a little bit so that it recognizes it, and do the same thing. Browse parameters, right click, create automation clip. Next thing, go to lead, do the same. Cool. Alright, so now here's the fun part. Okay. Each of these three sounds are controlled by, this is their top level of cutoff. So bass, you want to, we'll get into that. So let's start with chords, because we want this first sound to swell. So we'll create a right click here, so that's the top, that's the finish of the sound there. Bring this down to 0, and then put up 50% on that. For the bass, you right click and you copy, so you go this little knob here and you right click it and you go copy value. Okay, go across to where it's finishing on the sound, right click, paste value. So you right click once to make the dot and you right click again to bring up the thing, and you paste the value in, and then bring that down, and it should automatically do 50%. Now do exactly the same thing you did the chords to the lead as well. So there we go. So you can hear that now without it, with it. Cool. Now we'll keep going along to what we want. Okay, so I want one here, so you put a dot on the start, because we need one there. Then you put a dot below, so directly below it. Then you go across to where the note ends, put a right click on that, and maybe it'll pick up automatically as well. So do the same thing here. Remember, for bass you have to copy the value that it's going to be on, so right click, copy value. Because it's not directly at the top, it's hard to get it perfectly on. Right click on here, right click below, and then across where the note ends, put that in. And then right click, paste value, okay? So you've made the new dot, you right click again, and you paste the value in. Do exactly the same thing you just did to lead, right there, just like that. So, like that. Now, because these are exactly the way we want it for a complete 4-bar chorus, we will hold down Control, drag across these three, find the end of them, and just pull them in all the way until they reach the end of the 4 bars. Okay. Now that they're still highlighted, go Control C, so Control Copy, and then paste them in over here. Okay. If they're pasted in here, that's fine. Just move them over until they're there. Cool. And now the sound is pretty much ready to go. We can now we go to the volume part about making our own side chains for it. Okay. Let's go do that. Go to the chorus. Go on the first button. Select Fruity Balance. It's the same for bass, Fruity Balance. Same for lead, Fruity Balance. Okay. So on the chorus, open up the first, chords. Open up the first balance. Okay. Go to the volume module. Just best thing to do first is right click and highlight a bar, so you don't have to drag it all the way through. Go back to the mixer on chords. So just double click it. If you don't know which one it is, it'll pop up. Right click on the volume. Click Create Automation Clip. Okay. Now go to bass and do the same, except this time you're going to go right click on the volume and you're going to go link to controller. Okay. Then you're going to internal controller and you're typing in Fruity Balance chords. You're clicking on this one here and you're going to default on that, accept. Okay, I'll go over that one again. So double click, okay. So you've got this coming up, and instead of creating an automation clip like the first one, you right click on the volume, you click link to controller, okay, this one here. Under internal controller, this middle one here, you select none. Make sure this is not highlighted. That cannot be highlighted, otherwise it'll fall apart. If it hasn't, then if it's not highlighted, it's good. If it is highlighted, then you're going to have to go back through. internal controller, find Fruity Balance Chords. Okay, so now that's highlighted. This may come up again. Deselect it. If it's highlighted in red, it means there is conflicts, and that's what we want actually. Go to Mapping Formula, select Default. So it's just the top one there, and click Accept. Okay, so do the same for bass and lead, and you're linking it to the chords control. Basically, this means that this one module has been linked to 3 channels. It's been linked to chords from this first one, then the bass has been added and lead has been added, because they're all going to be doing exactly the same thing I want to do at the same time. Okay, so if you see these 3 here, okay, see if I move this, all 3 of them move. If I move one individually, no. If I move them all differently, you know, by themselves, then they'll all move. Okay. Now, what you want to do is zoom right in so you see roughly a bar's length here. Okay. Now, what you want to do within this one is first you want to right click on this little knob and just copy value so you have it ready in there. Okay. Now with the sidechain, this is how it would normally work. You would have a value in here, and you probably have a certain amount of level of the volume coming up for the kick to fit with it. Now this is what we will be doing. Okay, so in regards to the kick, we have a kick on the first, so let's get the kick down there. Okay, so you can see that, so you can just go in here and you just click on kick and you paste it in. Okay, so you've got one kick here and you've got a kick here. So for this one, we want to bring this up to say 30%. So we've got a nice curve here. Right click, we're above this other kick, and paste in that 80% value. Then right click below. Then right click again over here. Right click it, paste value, and that should be at 30% as well. Now this is where you need to mess around and decide whether you like it. Okay, but first what we'll do is we'll zoom out. Okay. And we'll grab this, which is a bar length long, and this is the same everywhere, so paste, 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 paste. Do it like Vinaya does it, copy and paste, except not on your different tracks, but only in your own same one you're able to do that. And paste the kicks also. Okay. We'll leave it all full right now, so that it's all filled up, and this is where you mess around and decide if you like it or not. So let's try and listen. Bass is too high. Let's see what it sounds like if we drop it down again. Absolutely. Bring the actually leave your bass on C4. Go into the program itself and go to part B and drop it in octave and just have a listen. Bear with me. Try again, so that should be -1 on this side and -1 on that side under octave. Okay. Let's try driving that down anyway. Absolutely. Back to the channel. This is where I'm pretty happy with everything so far in here that it sounds like. So the next thing to do is we'll go and add in a clap now, or a snare, or whatever you want. So let me just find one. I'll come back in a second. Okay guys, so I found a clap that I want to use. Very simple. Might not be the one I end up using, but for now that's the one I'm going to use. So I'm going to go ahead and add a find next empty and make a clap. And because we've got this as the set for kicks, we're just going to put one on here for the snare. So boom, clap, and that will repeat. Okay. And then go ahead and paste that in the roll here. Okay, very good. Now link this one to a channel, so make sure that's the only one highlighted. Go to the mixer and just put it right next to the kick. Control L or right click, link selected channels to this track. Okay, and then just automate the volume until it's around, I'd say 12 decibels, I'd say 10 to 12 decibels, and then open up a EQ2, because what I want to do is actually chop some of the lows out and boost some of the highs. So bring this one down a little bit. So 57 Hz minus 11 decibels, 110 Hz minus 2.5 decibels. So this one's around 9,000 Hz, boost that to say 6 decibels, and around 4,000 Hz, 3 decibels. So without, with. Okay. Also, we're going to add in a reverb too. Okay. Okay. Now this is follow this here. So we're going to go from left, or we're going to go all the way through like this. We're going to snake through. Okay. High cut all the way up. Leave low cut. Bring low cut up to about 600 Hz. So that 500 Hz. So that first little nodule on the left. Leave delay the same. Bring the size up to around 85, 84. Leave the diff the same, leave the bass the same, leave the cross the same, bring the damp all the way up, bring the decay time to 1 second, and bring the wet level up to 60%, and the stereo separation, bring that to the first knob on the left, so that's around 30%, and try again. Bring that wet up to 65. Bring that decay time to 1.5 seconds. Let's try that. Okay, something I want to edit here. Zoom in onto the first part of the chords and drag this one up to 50% and 50%, and we're going to try that from there. Much better. So do the same for the middle here, 50%, 50%. Now we're not going to do anything for the bass just because it's not as obvious. So let's play that again. Okay, we're actually going to bring this 50% down to 25, and we're going to do that for every modulation which has a bend on this entire thing. Bring it all down to 25%, and then play that again afterwards. Remembering that these are copies of these, so anything you change here will change there. So if I bring this one up, the one on the left here actually moves as well. So we're going to keep it at 50% and then try again. Alright, we're going to try and flatten this one out. So let's just right click it, and when this double arrow shows up, just right click and make sure that does it for everything. Okay, we're going to have to do it for the bass now. So half of 34 is 17, so let's go ahead and bring that up to roughly 17. 16% will do fine. There we go, and try again. I'm going to bring these basses up to say 24% because I think we need a bit more in there. Okay, quick tip. If the bass isn't coming out quite as you want it to, as I found out here, go into the bass. Okay, find out the octave it's in. If it's too low, so highlight it, either dragging across here, dragging like this, hitting Control A, whatever you want to do. You can then do Control Copy and Paste, so that it'll be a double now, and bring this one up to an octave higher, so it starts C4. Getting an incoming call, so that's no good. Okay, and then listen again. Alright, we're going to go 10% on these values, so that's going to be annoying, but let's go ahead and put it all in. Perfect. Should be a little bit different. Okay, so that's what we have so far. Real basic stuff. So that's the sort of the basics of the tutorial here. So you can finish here and use that in your own tricks if you want. Simple stuff. But now we're going to go add in a little bit of extras. So some things to fill in the dead space, which will incorporate a lot of reverb and different things. Yeah, so what I'm going to use for this in particular is vocal shots. So let's see. Let's see what we can find.
Whoa, gotta give it up.
Right, I'm going to go through and find some good samples, which I think will fit, and then we'll mess around with them. So I'll come back in a moment. Okay, so I have found my vocals I'm going to use for this, little vocal shots, and I've added them in the piano roll down below, as you can see. What we will do with these is basically I've just filled them in the empty space. So if you imagine you've got your chords here, you've got the hit and you've got empty space. This is just a fill in the same area. Empty space, something slightly different. Okay, so what we're going to do with these is we're going to link them each in particular to their own tracks. So I like to put them from 20 and above for my vocals or any other effects. Just because it makes it a little bit, I don't know, I just like it, so we'll do that. First one linked in there. Next one is this one, which should be linked in to the one after, and then finally the last one in here. So you can just find them in here, just highlight it and then link, but if you double click a certain one, it'll highlight it up for you, and you can just go into the mixer and add it in. So yeah, this one, find a channel, link it. This one, find a channel, link it. This one, find a channel, link it. And what we're going to do is just going to play these sounds individually until we decide we have the right volume. So first one, say around 14 decibels is respectable. Okay. Next sound. So we'll bring these down to 16, minus 16 decibels. And then this one. And then finally. Okay, so let's just play that to see what it sounds like. A little bit lower volume. Okay. Just gonna. Just so that it loops properly. You can just highlight it like this to do that as well. Okay, let's go to that first one. The first one here. Just pretty simple. Nothing special. Open up a delay 2, fruity delay 2 on this one. You obviously don't want that. Bring the time down to 2. Okay. Right. Bring this volume to about straight up and down, and then this feedback level, probably that first one there. So you've got this effect, and select Ping Pong on here. So what we've done is we've opened up a 3D delay 2. We've selected Ping Pong on here, Ping Pong, so it goes from left to right, left to right, left to right. You don't notice it. The volume's on this little knob here, and this one straight up. Everything else was left the same. So volume on here, and into the feedback panel on an angle there, and then the volume is straight up and down on the input for that one. Okay, play again. Okay. Now, the drop it one is actually pretty simple. Now this one I want to change. Okay. Okay. We go and open up a Reverb 2. Now, as we did last time, we'll go through it. So first, for the high cut, H cut, all the way up. Low cut, leave the same. Delay the same. Size, 83. Diff the same. Bass the same. Cross the same. Decay, timed 2 seconds. Damp all the way up. And then we'll drop the wet to about 40%. And bring the stereo separation in. Bring that wet to 60 maybe. Cool. Play that again. Okay, grab that low cut and bring that up to about 515 Hertz. Okay. Now go back to this. We just want to drag this out a little bit longer, so go to the feedback and bring that up to top. And try again. Alright, simple stuff. Now let's add in a little cheeky quick tip to see if it'll work for this. When you work on a Chillstep like this, you'll have the finished product will have variations. So you have hats and different rides and stuff in between, and also some atmospheric pitch drops going on in the background. But that comes into it when you're really working on the track and you need to add variation. For the main melody I'm doing now is what I'm showing you. So let's add something in to see if it works. Okay. Remember, all these particular sounds are going to be in the download and with the FLP, and everything's going to be in there. So drag this one in, this VMH2 noise mid, go to left corner, select fit to tempo, and click on 128 estimated if it comes up. If not, type in BPM 128, enter, and that'll fit it to respective bar amounts perfectly. Okay, because this is a 128 BPM loop, so in order to make it run at 140, you make it recognize it as 128 and then run it at 140. Okay. Okay. Link this to its own channel. Okay. Drop the volume first. Add in a balance. Pretty balance. Okay. Then link. Right click on the volume. Link to controller. Internal controller in there. Go to the bottom. 3D balance into chords. Same as the other times. And this one here. Click default. Accept. Now it's going to be linked to that volume modulation. Now what you're going to want to do is paste the chords below. Okay, just get rid of that second one for now. Zoom in just so you can see the whole thing. Okay, get this little slice out here. Now what you're going to want to do is get rid of every part which there is empty sound. So there's 2 empties there. Okay, so drag in on this one. Okay, and now that you've got the majority on the right hand side and you're cutting off this little bit here, right click so it's red, and that will delete that part. Okay, has to be a majority on the opposite side of where you're cutting. So do the same here, cut, slice. Okay, so if I tried to cut this little end bit off here, just by itself, that will work. But if I wanted to cut this, let's say if I wanted to cut all of this off and wanted to leave that last bit, it wouldn't work. Okay, so now that you've got, you can delete that chords now. Now that you've got that in 4 bars, so you just drag over that and just control and click on this. Okay, control C, paste it, drag it across. Okay, simple, simple, cool. Now go in here, select fast, fruity fast LP. Now this is a little trick that we will use. We want to actually follow similar in here, so let's do that. Okay, by linking, so right click cutoff, link to controller, and select chords filter control cutoff, default, accept. Okay, drop the volume down a little bit. Okay, and we will open up an EQ2, free very much EQ2. Just drop a little bit of the lows down, just mess it around a little bit, push the highs a little bit, and play that again. Drop that volume. Add a little bit of reverb in too, fruity reverb too. Okay. High cut all the way up, damp all the way up, decay up to say 3 seconds, drop the wet down to 30%, stereo separation to 30%. This is going really quick, so you guys should remember this from last time. So high cut all the way up, size 83, damp all the way up, decay to 3 seconds, wet at 30%, and stereo separation at 30%. Okay, play again. Okay, that's the basics for now. What I would do if I'm going to do anything would add a little bit of reverb in the lead to create a bit of atmosphere, which can be easily accomplished from just doing the same thing we've been doing before with any of the reverb options really, and just, you know, using it as is. Okay, thanks for listening and watching. If you hit subscribe to my channel, and I hook you guys up with some more music at a later date. See ya.